Hey Megtoes, this is a video response, sort of an open video response to Johntheother and his concerns about Bitcoin. He was saying how he thinks that the government can just sort of reach out and close it down, and I beg to differ, and a lot of Bitcoiners do. But that's a very common misconception that a lot of new people to Bitcoin come up with. They just think that government just has this incredible power to just reach out and close stuff down, and they do, but not in this way. You see, currently, well, let's go back to Napster. Remember Napster? Basically, the record labels were just used to gouging all of their customers and just raking them over the coals for money in exchange for like cassette tapes or CDs when they came out, and then Napster came out and started really sharing that around, and they just hated that, and they were used to ultimate power, and they applied pressure to government, and government then responded with force of its own, and they kicked in the door at Napster and unplugged the servers. Done. And they closed Napster down. And same with the Liberty Dollar. The Liberty Dollar had pieces of paper that were backed by gold in their vaults, and the government kicked in the door and seized all the gold and imprisoned the guy who ran the Liberty Dollar thing, and just stomped on him because they could, right? And then basically the response to the response to Napster was Torrents, right? The geeks, gotta love them. They came up with a new protocol, and it's a decentralized way for people to share music around. Sure, there's a centralized torrent repository, there are many of them out there, and anytime a government closes one down, 2 or 3 more spring up, right? So basically, and they're probably still trying to close down torrents. And the only reason why torrents are still going strong is because government simply doesn't have the power to shut it down. Government is basically just a bunch of government workers, and they are not necessarily the most creative people in the world, and they can hire people to try to close it down, but basically all of their money and all of their power has not been able to close torrents down. And the same goes with decentralized, and the reason why is because it's decentralized. It's spread all over the world on individual computers sitting on people's desks all over the world, and that is just simply beyond government's power to destroy it. Sure they could close the internet down, but they wouldn't even be able to pay their own troops, just like Egypt found out when they had those riots, and they decided to put major firewalls on the internet and unplug the internet, and they couldn't do business, they couldn't communicate to other government offices, they couldn't even pay their own troops, and the big huge companies that were running in Egypt were all highly internet dependent, and they were screaming bloody murder within days, and they were in danger of going out of business. And then finally the government in Egypt had to turn the internet back on. And it's unlikely that they will resort to those methods with Bitcoin. And second of all, Bitcoin is, of course, very decentralized, and corporations are taking it all over the country now and all over the world, and basically money is starting to flow into the government coffers from these corporations, and politicians are getting money for their campaign funds, probably for their bribes too, because Bitcoin's an awesome way to bribe politicians. If you do it carefully, you could probably do it tracelessly, although it's not as easy as Bitcoin is not as anonymous as a lot of people think. But basically, when politicians are getting tons of money and tons of bribes through Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, the bankers and whatnot might say, shut it down, but if the politicians are getting tons of money that way, will they shut it down? I don't know. But even if they wanted to, they basically can't. They've been trying to shut BitTorrent down for years, and the only reason why they can't do it, or they haven't done it, is because they can't do it. And the technology around Bitcoin is maturing, and it's going to become it's getting more and more widely adopted, but it's also going to be built onto. There's going to be greater and greater functionality headed our way, and in fact, at the end of this month, which was like right about now, maybe tomorrow, the first of 3 big new completely decentralized networks will go live, and that first of those 3 is Open Bazaar, and that combines the functionality of something like eBay combined with Craigslist. It's more like Craigslist, combined with reputation scores, so you know who has a habit of being trustworthy and getting good reviews and good thumbs up, that sort of thing. And it'll incorporate multi-signature transactions, so that there will be an escrow officer in on the transaction, and if the transaction goes sour, like somebody mails a package and then the person says he never got it, that's when the escrow officer comes in and decides who gets the money and who doesn't. And once a person sends money with a multi-signature transaction, you can't get it back. And the only thing that happens is the thing has to be signed by 2 of 3 parties, and basically, anyway, the escrow officer will settle it. And escrow officers will be just as decentralized as everybody else. In fact, if you're, for any MGTOW out there who is like physically disabled or something, becoming an escrow officer in the Open Bazaar network would be an excellent way to make a passive and semi-active stream of income that could become rather significant in the future. But Open Bazaar will combine, it's like protected in a rock-solid layer of encryption, and it's totally decentralized, and basically, and then it has like reputation scores, and you'll be able to have your own reputation. And if you have a certain skill set that's mobile, like me, I'm a mechanic, right? I could load some tools in my truck and drive to another state on vacation, and then if I wanted a little bit more money, I could punch up the ads on the Open Bazaar and say, oh, this guy has a engine miss on his Freightliner tractor trailer, right, or his tractor, and then I'll go over there, do a troubleshoot, and make some money. And you'll be able to bring your reputation with you, even if you become mobile and like totally unplug and become a gypsy almost. And you could, but the beauty of it is you take your good reputation with you. If you can do plumbing or electrical or sort out people's computers or even yard work, and the beauty of it is all of those transactions will be totally invisible to government, Now, of course, people who have more to lose, maybe, like me, for example, guys like me will probably, will claim the income on our income taxes, right? But if I got to a situation where I didn't have anything, or if I was totally mobile and totally disconnected from the grid, the conventional grid, I could like travel to anywhere in the country, possibly anywhere in the world, and within like a few miles find something to do, find some work. And I would be able to have, and then I would do my job, do the repair, and then the customer would say, "You did a good job," and he'd thumb up my profile, and I would do the same for him. He's a good person to work for. And I would get my cryptographic currency or my virtual currency or cash, I don't know, and then go off to do whatever I want to do. And programs like that will be able to take away a great deal of government power, because they'll no longer be able to watch where all the money goes and then say, "Give me my cut." Oh, I know that you two people decided to do a transaction between you two, but because I am the government, am able to just take some of that, And the beauty of this type of transaction is that it can be real anonymous, real difficult to track, and so small compared to big corporations or whatever that we would just be pretty much irrelevant. But we'll be able to take a lot of our economic power back from the government and put it back in our own pocket. And that will act to decrease the power of government and decrease wars and decrease all kinds of other nastiness, including government-subsidized feminism. So, yeah, I understand your concern about the possibility of government interference with Bitcoin, but it's pretty much not materializing. Right now, the feds aren't really in it that much, and there are certain states and cities that are trying to regulate Bitcoin, like New York, and what they're discovering is that people are going to only open businesses, or they're not going to open Bitcoin businesses in New York. They're just going to do it elsewhere. And there are many Bitcoin companies who will block all of the IP addresses in the New York area from interacting with their servers. So it's going to block New York. If they go through with this really nasty Bitcoin regulation bill this unelected guy is supposedly able to make these regulations, and what he's going to do is, if he's too draconian about it, he's going to drive Bitcoin business out of New York. So they'll just be in the legacy fiat currency business and the banking and the graft and the corruption, and then they're eventually going to start circling the drain and going, and Bitcoin, it's going to be the new way to do business. So I don't believe the government is a huge threat here. As time goes on, it will become more decentralized. The Open Bazaar network will be up first. Then you'll have the Made Safe network, and then Ethereum. And all of these decentralized networks will have the ability for people to transact and do business and with each other and communicate in ways that are just completely unable to be censored. And you remember that big firewall, or remember, I think it was Semantic that was blocking A Voice for Men, causing it to not even register on people's computers when they were searching for it. Well, basically, when these new in software methods are going to become live, like MadeSafe and Ethereum, mostly MadeSafe for that. That will be a highly encrypted internet within the internet, where it'll just be immune to censorship, immune to spying, government spying. I mean, the government just thinks that they can do this shit and there will be no reaction. Yeah, it's just like up here in the Seattle area, they put this giant freaking toll on one of our bridges, and then they wonder they say, yeah, we're going to get this much money from it. Yeah, see, it's on the paper, yeah. And then they wonder why everybody's going around that bridge, and traffic on the other two bridges is just going freaking nuts, and the other bridge is practically empty because nobody wants to fuck with buying their pass. Nobody wants to do all that stupid shit. So the revenue that the government thinks they can get is just not happening. Well, government has attempted to do the same thing. They're government spying, and of all the scanning through all our emails, and then of course our Google searches as well. There was this guy somewhere. He was just, I think he was shopping for backpacks for his kid, and then the freaking black sunglasses crowd kicked the door in and started questioning them. Why are you researching backpacks and pressure cookers? And he says he wasn't researching pressure cookers. Turned out his wife was Googling pressure cookers while he was Googling backpacks, and then that showed up on the government spy network, and they thought, oh my god, we finally got a freaking terrorist, a real terrorist that we didn't fake up and enable to be a threat, and then sneak in, jump in at the last moment and say, ha ha, we got one. But no, his wife was looking for pressure cookers and he was looking for backpacks. Well, anyway, people are getting tired of that shit, and the result is going to be things like MadeSafe and Ethereum, and then of course for transactions, Open Bazaar, and there's going to be a host of other software. So this is just the beginning. The internet is going to change. It's going to be far less centralized, and it will be vastly more difficult for government to spy and tax and just basically own, and power in that way is just going to come back to us right where it belongs. We are the country. The government is not the friggin' country. We are the country. Okay, well, let me get off my soapbox here. So basically, I don't believe they can shut down the internet. I mean, shut down Bitcoin. They'd have to shut down the internet, and any type of filtering that would just slow the whole thing down so much that everybody'd be screaming. And sure, they could do things like attack businesses, like geez, there's tons of them now. Of course, Overstock.com takes them, you know that. But 1-800-Flowers, there's just multiple companies that take Bitcoins now, and it's growing every day. So they could attack those companies, but I'm thinking that they're just going to have to adapt. You know, I don't see them being able to shut this down. So, see ya.